This is the Real Good Procast with your hosts, Declan DeBarb, Ian Blumenthal, and Marshall Heath.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Good Procast. This is our second week here. We have Marshall Keeley on the pod with us today.
Hello, how are you doing, Declan?
Ian Blumenthal's back as always. Producer
Yes,
Seb
go, boys.
does not have a mic today, but it's also game night. Who's excited? First game of the NHL season.
This is going to be crazy. Great season. I'm excited for it.
I'm the least excited here because I'm the resident Sens fan. But that being said, I'm looking forward to see how the Leafs blow it. That's what I'm looking forward to here.
It's good to know you're always on our side.
Can we agree to disagree that the Leafs are going to blow it? They are Cup favorites right now in Vegas odds, but I know that means nothing because we were also favorites last year.
Yeah, and I mean you lost a playoff series, so like winning this year, like a series. No, I mean genuine here, it'll be good, and then you can build on that, and I can see you guys winning a cup soon.
Oh, thanks, Marshall.
Oh, okay,
I think as a Sens fan, that took a lot out of you.
Well,
But-
I wasn't happy to say it, but
But we'll get to all of that later on. We're going to start right now talking. We're going to dive into all of the divisions, go through, preview every team nice and real quick, and then we'll hit the big points. Tom Wilson, especially the Leafs and Sens later on. So let's start right now with Vegas. The ins are Max Pacioretty, Nick Holden, Paul Stastny, and Daniel Carr. Out they have Goen Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, James Neal, Lucas Spiza, David Perron, and one thing to keep in mind is Nate Schmidt is going to miss 20 games due to performance-enhancing drugs.
That was one thing that I remember seeing when he got that suspension because of the performance-enhancing drugs, which weren't really performance-enhancing drugs, but they were illegal substances that you're not allowed to have. But you never, stuff happens. It's bad.
I'm just really looking forward to Pacioretty because he's finally out of the limelight. He's in a place where he can thrive and not be harassed by the fans and the media. So I think he can be really productive this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing him actually do well for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing to mention is Paul Stastny. He had a great playoffs in Winnipeg, and I mean, this guy's a journeyman. He's bounced around a little bit, but I think he'll do really well in Vegas. I'm liking him there.
He's a big piece for them. How many goals do you think Patches is going to score, though?
Over under?
Over under 30.
Over.
That's fair.
Over.
Yeah.
He'll get lots of power play time.
Yeah.
So yeah, over.
The only big thing they lost was Neal, but they kind of took Pacioretty, and now they have Stastny also.
Yeah.
So I think they're looking good again this season.
Yeah, I know they'll have to get some good goaltending and rely on some players to continue to do well. But I think that they'll be really good. Where do you see them going, Marshall?
I won't be surprised if they're in the conference finals.
Cup contenders?
Oh yeah, I don't know if they'll be in the finals again.
Agreed?
100%
Okay.
Cup contenders this year.
Good. That was nice and quick. We'll move right along to Anaheim. Ins are Andre Schuster from Tampa Bay, Brian Gibson, Carter Rowney. Sorry, that was a hard one. And Luke Shen. Outs are David Grant, and Corey Perry's going to miss the first 5 months of the season with a knee injury.
Before we touch Perry, I just want to say throwback with Luke Shen. I loved him as a Leaf.
Luke's
I
Troops.
loved that man. Loop's Troops, and then it was Luke.
No, it's Luke's
Looples.
Troops, and then it became
And then
Luke's
these
Troops.
Loop's Troops after, yeah.
I don't have high expectations for Anaheim. I won't be surprised if they just kind of flame out, and even when Perry comes back, the momentum will not be there, and they'll be done.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be anywhere close to me. I think they're going to easily miss the playoffs this year. Probably bottom of the league.
I don't know if I see bottom
Not
of the
bottom
league.
of the league,
I think-
obviously.
I
but
think they'll be in the dead zone. They'll be like bottom 10 to 15, won't make the playoffs, won't do anything. Just
Yeah.
the irrelevancy zone.
Yeah, no,
it really
absolutely.
sucks.
Unlike the next team.
Yeah, San Jose.
Fuck
Ooh,
me.
this is a big one.
I mean, Marshall, they personally fucked you. This.
No, they did. Doug Wilson fleeced Dorian hard
Twice.
2 times.
twice. Like yeah, it was bad. It's bad.
Yeah, we got into that conversation last podcast where I think I might have said that Dorian needs to throw his phone into the river or
Yeah.
the field
Mhm.
or an empty parking lot. But you know, ins for this year, Francis Perron, but more notably Eric Carlson.
Yeah.
That's a big
And
in.
Kane for a full year, which is going to be huge to have that off season. So I think they can be a cup contenders easily, like
A hun-
finals.
100%.
Yeah, Outser, Julius Bergman, Mikhail Bodker, they shed some cap. Mike Hoffman came in and then later went out.
For 2 hours, I think he was there.
Chris Tierney, Dylan DeMello, Josh Norris, Rudolph Balser, and Eric Fair are all outs. I think San Jose has a very good season ahead of them. I
I'm
think they
excited.
could easily be, they're easily cup contenders. I think this might be the year they get over the hump.
The one
Yeah.
thing they've always been was I always thought of them as like the epitome of mediocrity, where they would always make the playoffs. They always be like good, but they would never take it that extra step. Like that one year they made the cup final and they played Pittsburgh. Like not once during that series did I think they would ever win the cup.
Yeah, you never had. You don't have faith in a team like San Jose.
No, yeah.
Now you might.
But now I'm looking at them like that is the
Like-
best defensive core I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I've ever seen on a team in the
The-
NHL.
Them and the Predators, their defensive cores are just stupid.
Yeah, the West is going
Oh.
to be scary in terms of defense. You're going to go out there and not score many goals. Those are
Yeah.
There's some good defenses out there. There's some bad ones, Edmonton, but some really good ones. We're jumping right along to Los Angeles. Ins are Peter Budaj, Zach Mitchell, and Ilya Kovalchuk. Outs are Andy Andrioff and Tobias Reeder.
I think LA is a hard team to read because like they've been on the downslope, but it's like they haven't really lost anyone huge. It's just like they've just got less quality. Like the quality in the players have been less. But I mean, Kovalchuk and Mitchell could be a boost, but they're probably a 7, 8, 9 team.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make the playoffs this year. I think solely because last year you saw it with Kopitar with his bounce back season, and I think he's gonna repeat that again this year. He's a great player, and they still have Drew Doughty, like one of the best defensemen in the league. And yeah, he hasn't like been in the spotlight as much as one of the best D in the league, as much recently because it's mostly focused on like Carlson and Hedman and like Roman Yossi. So I think they're gonna be great, and Peter Budaj is a good backup to
Oh,
Jonathan
yeah.
Quick.
He's a really good back.
I think I completely disagree with you. I don't see a way LA makes the playoffs.
I
this
just think
year.
like I mean,
I just think this team is getting too old. That they added a maybe an Ilya Kovalchuk,
That's a big if.
and I think every player will take a step back this year. I don't think not Ilya Kovalchuk. Sorry, Anze Kopitar has a lot of quality in him. I don't think he repeats his Hart season again.
I think they'll make it on 8 or 7. They'll be just in, but I think they'll be in.
I also think a wild card spot.
I think they just miss out, but we're going to move right along to Calgary, who had a very, very busy summer.
Oh,
Ins are Noah Hannafin, Elias Lindholm, Kirby Reichel, James Neal, Austin Karsnick, and Derek Ryan. Outs are Dougie Hamilton, Michael Furland, Adam Fox, Hunter Shinkaruk, Troy Brower, Matt Barkowski, and Brett Kulak.
I think James Neal will be exciting. I don't know what the hell this team's going to do this year. It's just to me, it's like LA. It's a total like you don't know with this team because every year it's like expectations. Oh yeah, this will be a playoff year, and then every year it's like no, they just suck again.
I think this year, like looking at what they've done this offseason, yeah, they lost a couple quality names like big Dougie Hamilton and like Troy Brower is pretty big, but the additions they made with James Neal and like Kirby Reichel and Hannafin, those are big. I think Calgary's I don't think they're going to be close to a cup contender, but they can make the playoffs this year, like a wild card or maybe like third in their division.
I think their season depends on Mike Smith. Again, they didn't add in the right places. Yeah, they added James Neal. I think I'm really high on Noah Hannafin, Elias Lindholm. Derek Roy's a great player, but I just don't trust Mike Smith. I just don't think they have enough goaltending. I think they'll end up missing. We'll get to our favorite team, Edmonton. Ian, how's Edmonton?
Edmonton's great. McDavid's awesome.
Okay, let's move. No, I'm kidding. We did that last week, but we're gonna go into him this week. Ins are Kyle Brodziak and Tobias Reeder. Outs are Jakob Yerbeck and Laurent Boursois. So quiet summer in Edmonton.
I think this is the summer where if nothing happens, there could be some change in coaching easily.
Yeah.
Because I don't with McDavid. If you have the best player in the league, and you have enough people with the roster's kind of a joke on defense, but I don't think it's going to excuse McClellan. How do you say his name?
McClellan?
Yeah, they need to have a good year, otherwise he's gone.
100%. Edmonton is not a good team without McDavid. They're very, very, very bad.
Possibly
Actually,
the worst.
Some might say.
Some might say, but Cam Talbot, if he steps up his game again this year, that'll be big for them, and I think that could be the push to get them into the playoffs, maybe. And once they're in the playoffs, I think Connor McDavid can carry a series, unless a team works a good matchup game against him. There's no real answer for that guy.
But that's a big if. Like they
It's
lost
a
their
big
they
if.
lost their backup goalie in Laurent Brossoit. He wasn't great, but they have an unknown who they're already thinking about sending down to the minors, who's on a decent deal. So Cam Talbot will have to carry a lot on his back once again this year, and hopefully he can do that. We're going to move on to the other Canadian team out west, Vancouver. The Ins are Tanner Creo, Tim Schaller, Antoine Rousseau, and Jay Beagle. Outs are Michael Chaput, Nick Dowd, and the Sedins to retirement.
The only thing I have to say about Vancouver, this comes from Scott Billick. Patrick Laine said, quote, Patrick Laine said about Vancouver's decision to ban video games on the road, quote, they need something to blame after last year. That's all I have to say about Vancouver. They were absolutely trash last year, and I don't see it changing this year.
Yeah, I think they've been repetitively one of the worst teams in the NHL.
Most underachieving.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the
Cup
Stanley
final.
Cup Stanley Cup final. They lit the city on fire, and
Literally.
nothing.
Looked like
They
Philly.
haven't really done anything else. They stole Matt Sundin from me in my childhood, which upset me. But this year they have Elias Pettersson, who's looking decent. We talked about him a bunch last year. He destroyed Ryan Strome. And he's looking good, but I just don't think Vancouver have anything in them. I think, once again, they'll be at the bottom of the league this year.
Yeah, no, I think the only things that they have going for them right now is Brock Besser and Elias Pettersson. They're not so great up there. They're not so great
I will add,
as a team.
I'm hoping local guy Ben Hudson has a good third year after a really good rookie and a not so great sophomore year. So I'll be cheering for him to pick it back up.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see a good Vancouver. We're going to move on to one of my favorite teams, the Arizona Coyotes. Their ins, Marcus Kruger, Alex Galchenyuk, and Michael Grabner. Outs, Jordan Martinuk, Madman Max Domi, Luke Shen, and Scott Wedgwood. One thing to keep in mind is that Galchenyuk will miss the start of the season. He's week to week with a lower body injury.
I also want to say the Coyotes are also my mother's favorite team, so you and her share that in common. I'm really looking forward to Galchenyuk again. Same with Pacioretty. He's out of the spotlight. I think he'll be at least 35, 40 goals.
Yeah, and he'll get to play center, which will be nice for him. I know Montreal has historically had a bad job developing centers, and that, I think, stunted his growth. I think they just need to develop his defensive game a little bit, and he will be a good player for them. 1C for sure. They traded out Max Domi, who had his own little run-in at the start of the season. My prediction, Galch gets 50 more points than Domi.
Easily.
Ooh, wow.
Points-wise, yeah.
Yeah, Arizona. I think they're gonna be very stagnant. I don't see much. Obviously, there's gonna be kind of improvement from last year because they were pretty bad.
But you're not pegging them for the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs.
I completely
way.
disagree with that. I think that Arizona will be a complete sleeper. This is not just a biased person.
So
not
much
just
bias.
a biased fan talking. I think that you saw a much better team play in the back half of the year, and albeit they were already out, teams probably gave them an easier time when they came into their when they saw Arizona on the schedule. But Antti Raanta won't be as bad as he was at the start of the season. I think they've made a bunch of nice upgrades. They've lost some people, but it was a perfect storm in the wrong way in Arizona last year. A bunch of people had career worst years, and they just locked down OEL. They picked up Alex Galchenyuk. I think will be a good year for Arizona. I think they'll be in the hunt. If they make the playoffs, great. I think they'll steal LA's spot.
That's fair. The only thing I have to say is they lost Luke Shen. Like, how do you lose that guy? He's so good. He's an all-star in the league.
They'll have to come up with some new name for their way to honor the troops.
No, but for serious, Luke Shen is one of my favorite Leafs of all time. Honestly, like, growing up, he's awesome.
Do you guys have any last thing to note about the Pacific Division before we move on to the Central?
It's the one I least care about.
Yeah, I feel that.
I agree.
I think it's a little bit irrelevant. I don't think you'll see anyone from the Central come even close to being relevant. Maybe Edmonton will be
San Jose.
relevant in
Vegas.
a bad way.
Vegas,
And San Jose.
Vegas and San Jose.
Vegas and
After
San Jose.
that, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, no one else.
So we're going to move on to the Central. A quiet summer in Nashville. They pick up Dan Hamhuis. Scott Hartnell retires after a great career for him.
Nashville, though, they're cup contenders 100% this year. They're great. They were great last year. They didn't really change anything, so they're going to be great again. Everything's going to go right for them, probably.
They're cup contenders. It all just depends on what happens with them in Winnipeg in the playoffs.
Yeah,
It's
and I
just-
think they'll be hoping that their centers take a step this year. They're a little bit weak down the center.
But they got an amazing decor to make up for that.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you try and build your team down the middle, but if you can't, you go with the next best thing, which is defense. We're going to move on to the team you just mentioned, Winnipeg. The Inns, Simon Bourque and Laurent Bourgeois. Outs, Steve Mason, Joel Armia, Chase DeLeo, Michael Hutchison, Matt Hendricks, and Paul Stastny.
Where you see some like loss, like Paul Stastny, that's like a loss, but everyone knew that they were going to lose him, and Winnipeg, he was literally only there for the playoff run. But I think Winnipeg, again, cup contenders. Them in Nashville, similar, except they have Patrick Laine and a amazing offense, while Nashville is the best defense. They're just like kind of like opposites in that respect.
I'm really excited about Winnipeg. I think I expect them to be in the finals this year.
Oh, big prediction. I think they might take a step back. I think both teams at the top had a quiet summer. I think that they might struggle a little bit this year. I don't see them challenging Nashville.
But you don't see them missing the playoffs. Like,
No,
okay.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not a madman.
Okay.
I think they're 5 or 6 points adrift from Nashville coming
Alright.
into the year.
Yeah, but second in the division for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna
Oh
be
yeah,
Nashville, Peg, and then maybe, I don't know, wild card Colorado.
we're gonna move on to Minnesota right now. Their ins: Matt Reed, Matt Hendricks. They're like their Matts. Eric Fair, Matt Barkowski, Andrew Hammond, JT Brown, and George Partner. Outs: Zach Mitchell and Matt Cullen.
I mean, I think it's kind of same with Edmonton, where I think it's another coach on the ropes for them, and but I think that they could be a sleeper team too. Though I think that they could upset a team in the playoffs, but I'm not betting my house on it.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent. Where Minnesota, they're kind of a stagnant team. Again, they are always good, but never good enough to make it that extra leap. And I think this year is a big deciding factor for whether or not coach is going to stay. But I think that they made a couple good acquisitions over the summer, and it could help them. They still have Devin Dubnyk, and if he plays really well, like Devin Dubnyk can play, they're going to go somewhere, but they're not making the finals or anything.
No, I think they'll do the Minnesota thing and squeak in and then lose in the first round to a much better team.
Unless Dubnyk steals a series, but I doubt it.
I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
Dubnyk
the
has it
only
in him.
case scenario where they do something like win a series.
Yeah, he's just too inconsistent.
Okay, we're going to move on to Colorado, who had a rather quiet summer, but I think they had a decent one. They brought in Philip Grubauer from Washington, Matt Calvert, Ian Cole. Outs were Blake Como, Jonathan Bernier, and Andrew Hammond, all quiet in Colorado.
I'm honestly just looking past this season. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with Ottawa's first overall pick. That's my biggest interest of Colorado right now, and I hope they use him well, whoever they get.
You mean
Jack
Jack
Hughes?
Hughes?
Well, I'm not saying they get first, but they're going to get something good because Ottawa's just
It's the Ottawa way. They're gonna finish 10th and win the draft lottery, and Colorado's gonna take their pick.
yes. I 100% agree with you on that.
But I really like Philip Grubauer. He's someone who set out a lot last year. He had a great season in Washington. At one point, he stole Holtby's job, which I was surprised. But he's gonna back up Varlamov. Varlamov is super inconsistent, so I think it'll more be a 1A 1B.
Yeah.
I see Colorado missing out on the playoffs this year. I just don't think they added enough.
I think they might squeak in. I'm not going to put any money on it because I think maybe St. Louis is better, probably. But Philip Grubauer is a great acquisition, and I think losing Jonathan Bernier, like, RIP because he was a Leaf, but I'm not a huge fan of that guy. And I think Ian Cole is not a bad acquisition. He's not, like, crazy good, but
He'll make a difference for
he'll make a difference for them. And I think Colorado's only going to go up from here.
Yeah.
They're not going down. So maybe not this year, but in future years, they're going to be somewhere good.
No, Colorado has their pieces, and I think it's all about filling out their depth, and that's what it shows here. We're gonna quickly move right along to St. Louis, who had a very busy summer, picking up Ryan O'Reilly, Jakub Jurbeck, Patrick Maroon, Chad Johnson, David Perron, and my sweetheart Tyler Bozak. Out, Tage Thompson, Patrick Berglund, Vladimir Sobotka, Carter Hutton, and Kyle Brodziak.
This offseason for them, honestly, great. Patrick Maroon, Ryan O'Reilly, Tyler Bozak, David Perron, like, all huge guys. And I'm not saying Tyler Bozak's great, but he was the first ever jersey I bought.
Yeah, I wanted to succeed all my time in this just to hear you guys think about how Tyler Bozak will do there.
I could spend hours talking about Tyler Bozak. I think he's a guy that didn't get his due respect in Toronto. He was misused and got a bad rap with the fan base. But man, seeing his daughter in the St. Louis jersey, it broke my heart, man. It did.
I miss his kids. Honestly, him and his son, when they had that little ritual before every game, it was so cute. But going back to St. Louis, they're gonna be, I think, good this year. I think they're kind of a sleeper. People don't think of them as like a contender, but I think they could maybe do a playoff push.
Definitely see that happening.
I could see them getting passed around. I think they had a really good offseason. They picked up Ryan O'Reilly, someone I rate very highly. I think one of the most underrated centers in the league. They picked up Tyler Bozak, so I think they really did well to build down the middle. And other than that, I think that they have a bunch of pieces there. I think that they're set, and I think I see second round in St. Louis's future this year.
I agree.
I'm going to move on south to Dallas, where they picked up Connor Carrick, C's, Blake Como, Anton Habibulin, and Roman Polak. Out, Greg Patron, Dan Hamuse, and Antoine Roussel.
They have also the new coach, Jim Montgomery.
That is true from
He's
DU.
I think he will be a really good addition to that team. Really get some energy in there, and I think that I honestly would not be surprised if they come out of nowhere and get the 8th spot. I think they're not as bad as people say. I mean, and they have the pieces. They have Ben. They have what you need.
I think the problem is they don't have goaltending. Not goaltending. They don't have goaltending. They don't have defense.
They got Roman Polak. He's good.
You take that back right now.
We're gonna move on.
I respect.
We're gonna move on to
Polak.
Chicago.
No. I want to spend some time on Roman Polak because I think they made two
Questionable decisions.
No. They took 2 players from the Leafs, one that I rate really highly in C's and one I rate really lowly in Roman Polak. I think they went 2 opposite directions. Connor Carrick is a guy that likes to throw his weight around, but he's a tiny guy. He's got speed. He's a good puck handler. Roman Polak goes in the opposite direction.
That's fair. No, I agree. I think Dallas could do something this year, though. I don't think they're going to win the Cup because it's Dallas, and they're not going to win the Cup. And every season I watch them.
The only time they win a cup is when they steal it from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Poor Buffalo.
Don't ever say poor Buffalo.
No, I know. Buffalo knows they deserve it.
They deserve what they get.
Buffalo and Philly.
And Boston.
Pretty much anyone on the Eastern Seaboard.
Except for like
it's like it's just that part of the world.
If you're on I-85, just screw you.
We're gonna get to Chicago now. The Blackhawks themselves had a busy summer after what was a very disappointing season, but I don't think they made very many good moves. They picked up Jordan Schroeder, Marcus Kruger, Mackenzie Einswissel, someone I've never heard of, Jordan Matlett, Andrew Campbell, Brandon Davidson, Brandon Manning, Chris Kunitz, and Cam Ward. Outs are Tanner Kiro, Jean-Francis Barabu. That's not how you say it. Barabu. Marion Hossa, Vincent Hinestroza, Jordan Ustrell, and Anthony Duclair. I think Chicago came out worse than they.
I mean, you say
came
that,
in
but
this
like
summer.
Chris Kunitz, like,
A 41-year-old Chris Kunitz?
I mean, I don't see where he's going to be awful. I can see him having 40 points. I can see him having that. I on a Chicago team where he has all he needs to do is get it up to the wings, and then he's good. Like I think Chicago won't be that bad. I think they'll be bouncing back.
Ooh.
Joel Quenneville's going to light a fire under their ass, and they're going to actually do something. Otherwise, he's gone.
Yeah.
Listen, I just don't see it. I think Chicago finishes bottom again this year.
Bottom.
Yeah, I want to agree with that. Not bottom, but on the low end of the league. They're not a good team anymore. They were a dynasty. Like, they won those cups, but then they left the face of the earth, and they made 2 straight playoffs and lost first round both times, and then now they're bottom of the league.
Do either of you see them selling assets, like Taves Kane assets?
I don't think that they can move those guys. I just don't think they have it in them. There's just too many bad contracts on this team. I think that this team will fade into mediocrity. They messed up what they did best in fleecing other teams.
But in the end, they still won 3 cups.
Yeah, they got 3
So-
cups, so Chicago fans can't be
Yeah,
mad. They
yeah.
got
No.
what they wanted.
So they're just it's going to be a little bit till they can get it back up again.
Yeah, but their time's
Yeah,
over,
and
so
I agree with that.
All right.
there's a rotation. Like, some
Yeah.
teams are good, then they go bad. Like, it happens.
On a whole, Western Conference up or down this year? Did they get better? Did it get worse?
Other than San Jose, I don't see where anyone else got amazingly better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Other than the only teams that are getting better are the ones that still aren't going to do anything. And they're like slowly getting better, but they're not going to be there yet.
Yeah,
Maybe 1 or 2 years in the future.
It's either like the very low or the best that added good players. Everyone in the middle kind of just stayed there. Like, other than San Jose and Vegas, it was just all.
Yeah, there
Nothing.
wasn't very much movement. I think I agree with
Yeah.
that. We're going to move on over to the East and start with the Metropolitan and the Cup champions, the Washington Capitals, who had a very quiet summer. They brought in Nick Dowd. Outs were Philip Grubauer and Jay Beagle. On top of that, they brought in their assistant coach, Tom Reardon, to be their new head coach.
And now the talk of town, though, right now is not necessarily the cup banner raising. It's Tom Wilson getting suspended for 20 games.
20 games, and it's the right call.
Oh, yeah, no, it is the right call.
I agree. He's a repeat offender, and he needs to like learn his lesson here. As much as like this hit, and it looked bad when I saw it, but I also could see some plot like deniability where he didn't intentionally do it. But regardless of intent or not, if you're a guy and it's happening to you multiple times where you are causing someone's injury or you're doing something that is totally not okay, even if it's not intentional, you have to get suspended for a large amount of games. You have to be taught a lesson.
I was going to say, and in the video itself, it had, quote, an unprecedented frequency of suspensions in the history of the league's Department of Player Safety. That's one of the reasons why they suspended him 20 games, costing him over $1 million.
Well, Tom Wilson freaking deserves it, man. This guy is dirty. I want to love Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson's the kind of guy I like. He's the player who works hard, and he might not be the most skilled, but he works for it. But man, Tom Wilson is dirty. This is back-to-back preseasons he's been suspended. This time for 20 games. He blindsides him. Tom Wilson isn't a player we need in this game. Frankly, 20 is good. If I was Thing, I might have given him 40. Like, it was a dirty blindside hit. I think it's like the Matt Cook hit from what? How long ago was that? A decade? Couple.
Well, say Matt Cook hit. You're gonna have to tell me.
The
there's
Matt
more than
Cook
one.
hit, the one
There's
in
more than one there.
the one in open eyes. I can't remember. Is it Crosby where he rang his bell from behind?
Mark Savard
Mark Savard.
in 2010.
And like Tom Wilson is a dirty player, and to have players like Devontae Smith-Pelly, someone who I very much respect, say this, it sucks that the guy got hurt. Devontae Smith-Pelly said. At the same time, at a certain point, he can't be coming across the middle. I don't care if it's the preseason or if it's the middle of the season. The play is not that play is not exactly the safest.
Yeah, but that's like blaming a guy for making a hockey play. Like he's going up the middle to make a play. You can't target him.
No, yeah, but I do have to, like, as much as it's a dirty hit, I have to agree with the fact that he literally cut across the middle of the ice with his head down.
But Ian, it would be different if Tom Wilson was coming from the corner. He's coming from the bench. He blindsides him.
I know, and I'm not taking any blame away from Tom Wilson, but I'm just saying it's a stupid play.
Yeah, it's a stupid play, but I think 20 games is the right call.
Yeah.
And in the end, though, Washington won a cup last year, so
who cares?
This is nothing for them.
Ovi literally lifted the cup.
And then did keg stands on it.
That's funny. It's called a cup stand.
To the Penguins now, where they had themselves a quiet summer. The ins were Derek Grant, Matt Cullen, and Jack Johnson. Outs were Carter Rowney and Tom Kuhnhackl.
I think it's business as usual for Pittsburgh. I don't think there's anything less than cup contending expectations for them. I think Crosby, Malkin will be good as always, and I guess I don't see where they really fall off.
They could lose everybody except for Crosby, Malkin, and Matt Murray, and get a bunch of Tyke players, and they would still be a cup contender.
I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, they're some of the best players in the league right there. I think Jack Johnson bringing him in is questionable. From Columbus, they're one of their rivals, but I don't think Jack Johnson's I just don't think he's a good player. I think it's a questionable move on the back end.
Oh, okay, Torts. I don't think he's that bad. I think he'll do fine.
Jack Johnson is not he's just not a good advantage. His numbers show that he's just not a good guy. He's just not a good guy, but not a good player.
That's fair. Honestly, Pittsburgh, regardless of how we think their offseason went, they're going to be good because it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The Metro will continue to be a monster, but a team on the rise is the Philadelphia Flyers. And they brought James Van Riemsdyk and Calvin Pickard, 2 Leafs. And out are Brandon Manning, Matt Reed, and Valtteri Filppula.
I think Valtteri Filppula is a loss for them, but I think that James Van Riemsdyk is a big in for them. He's a great player. He scored 40 goals last year.
James Van Riemsdyk, under 40 goals.
Is he playing with Wayne Simmons? I think over.
I think I almost want to push, but if not over. I don't think he'll be under 40.
Yeah, he's going to stay in the paint where he always stays, and he's going to tap in goals because Wayne Simmons is also crazy.
The issue for him is that Wayne Simmons is taking penalties, so he may not be playing with him, and he may not get a lot of power play time. That's the only thing against Van Riemsdyk, but other than that, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think Philly might make a splash this year. Nothing too big. I don't think they're going to go deep in the playoffs, but I think they're probably going to be maybe pushing the playoffs this year.
I think they have the same problem as Minnesota, where they'll run into a team that's just better than them and lose in the first round. But I think that this is a team on the rise, and I think Philly is good. And fingers crossed, Ivan Provorov and Sean Gostisbehere take a step this year. Have both of them on my fantasy team.
That's fair.
We're gonna move right along to the Columbus Blue Jackets, where they brought in Jean-Francois Berube, Anthony Duclair, and Riley Nash. Outs were Jordan Schroeder, Matt Calvert, Ian Cole, Thomas Vanek, and Jack Johnson.
I think Columbus is going to have a make-or-break year this year. They're either going to push past that first round where they play Pittsburgh/Washington because they're going to be third, and then it's either going to be Pittsburgh or Washington at second. And if they don't do that, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm excited for Duclair, but I think losing Ian Cole will. And I'm not like you. I think Jack Johnson's worth something. So I think the outs on Columbus are a bigger issue than the gains on the ins. So I think they'll run into trouble come playoff time.
Yeah, I think they picked up 2 good pieces in Duclair and Riley Nash. But I watch Panarin this year. This contract year. He's gonna have a step, man. I could see him pushing for a major trophy. Like he's gonna have a career year.
Hart.
I'm not saying it, but maybe.
Well, that'll come
reasonable.
later, maybe.
That'll come right on at the end. We're gonna now move on to New Jersey, who didn't bring anyone in this year, but outs were Brian Gibson, Michael Grabner, John Moore, and Patrick Maroon.
Where Patrick Maroon is a loss, and also Michael Grabner's a loss, I don't really see John Moore and Brian Gibbons as big losses for them. But New Jersey, if Taylor Hall can put up points and Corey Schneider can play good hockey, and we know he can because he's shown it, I think they could push the playoffs again this year. But I don't think they added anything substantial. So their spot in the playoffs that they got last year, they'd either make the same kind of spot where they're a wild card team, or they're going to miss it again to someone like Columbus. Sorry, not Columbus. Philadelphia.
I think they're a bubble team on the outside looking in. I don't see them. I mean, Taylor Hall would have to do probably better than what he did last year, and Schneider has to do better than what he did last year.
Yeah.
And while that's possible, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, given that, I think you'll see Nico Hischier take a step, but I just don't believe that New Jersey has the parts to do it this year. I agree with you that they're on the outside looking in, and I think they'll be one of those irrelevant teams this year. We're gonna mosey right on down to Carolina, who had themselves a big season. Ins were Jordan Martinook, Dougie Hamilton, Michael Furland, Adam Fox, Cliff Pugh, Calvin DeHaan, Peter Mrazek, and Curtis McElhaney. Out Marcus Kruger, Noah Hannafin, Elias Lindholm, Jeff Skinner, Joachim Nordstrom, Derek Ryan, and Cam Ward. They also have new coach Ryan Brindamore, who was their assistant coach last year.
I'm excited for Dougie Hamilton. I'm excited for Michael Furland. I also, though, am questioning the law. I'm questioning Hannafin. I'm questioning Lindholm. But, again, this is one of those teams where I don't think the expectations for them are sky high. They have new ownership. They're just going to kind of do this season and maybe regroup for next year. I don't think they're going to kill it this year at all by any means.
I have to agree with that. I don't see them going anywhere that far at all. I don't even see them making the playoffs. Where I like Peter Mrazek. I think he's solid, but I don't think that piece is gonna bring them anything substantial this season. And I don't think Dougie Hamilton or Furland or DeHaan are gonna do anything for them. Yeah, Curtis McElhaney had a .934 save percentage last year, but I don't think he can repeat that.
Yeah, that was
How
in
many games did he
17
play?
games.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But one player I'm really high on, Calvin DeHaan. I think he was a big pickup. But the problem, once again, in Carolina, they don't have goaltending. We've seen it so many times where a team builds and builds and builds, but it's like they're bashing their head into a wall because they don't have a goalie.
Yep.
And that's the problem again in Carolina. They lost their starter this year, so Peter Mrazek will be the starter there. They're hoping that Scott Darling takes the reins when he comes back from injury. But I think it'll be another year of mediocrity for Carolina. Not horrible, not great, just kind of there.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to a team that will very much be horrible this year in the New York Islanders. Their ins are such great names as Matt Martin, Lucas Spiza, Robin Lehner, Tom Kuhnhackl, Valtteri Filppula, Leo Komarov, and Frederick Clausen. Outs, Ian McAdams, Chris Wagner, Yaroslav Halak, Calvin DeHaan, Brandon Davidson, and John Tavares. Also, they did bring in Barry Trotz as their new coach from the Washington Capitals, but
he's a cup winner coach now. So
I don't know how he coaches the likes of the Leafs bottom line to a cup contender. But
yeah, I don't think they're gonna go anywhere. I think they're gonna be bottom of the league this year. They lost their best player, and one of the best players hasn't been on free agency almost ever.
Bottom of the league in last place, or is it a race for the bottom?
Race for the bottom. I think it's gonna be Ottawa at the bottom, and then maybe New York can push on it. But I don't think that they're gonna come close to Ottawa. But they're gonna be at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, no, it's not looking good for them.
As a fan of a team that knows what's not looking good, I think you can comment on this one.
If I were the Islanders fans, I would find some Rangers jerseys or some other jerseys real quick.
So kind of what
I'm
Sens fans should be doing.
I'm having a really bad brain fart. Who's their GM?
It's Lou Lamoriello.
There you go, Lou
Yeah.
Lamoriello. He must really like hockey if he wants to go to the Islanders and try to fix that mess.
On top of it, I think he really likes Matt Martin and Leo Komarov.
He literally came to Toronto, fixed it, and then went to another garbage place.
Maybe in 3 years they'll be great too, because otherwise it's not looking good for them.
Listen, I just don't see it. They're in tough here.
Maybe if the Leafs win in like 3 or 4 years, Islanders fans can be happy in like a decade. Who knows?
Yeah.
knows?
They do have some good pieces there in Matt Barzal,
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
but
he's
I just
great.
don't see it. They lost Calvin DeHaan, Yaroslav Halak. These
John
are some
Tavares.
big names. John Tavares, might I add. I
They-
think we're really going to see what Josh Bailey and Anders Lee can do this year.
Yeah.
I think this is a year to forget for
I-
Islanders fans.
I forget. Does Hosang still is he on their minor team? Remember?
He's
guy who
still
wore the
there.
news number?
Yeah, no, he's still there.
He's
but
there. I don't know if he made the team. There's personnel
Yeah, 'cause
issues
remember when he
there.
came
He
joined
right,
for
yeah.
a second and
Lu-
everyone was like, "Whoa, this guy could be sick," and then no
He
one
wore
heard of him
Lemieux's-
again.
He wore Mario's jersey number, and he was like late for practice, and it was like, okay, you can go home now.
Yeah, there's personal issues with Hosang. He's yet to be named to either roster as of yet. And we're just gonna really quickly mention the New York Rangers, who didn't do anything this summer other than bring in David Quinn from Boston University.
And I think that's a good. I think what they did in the summer will really show what they're going to do in the season. They're not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, I think the acquisition of David Quinn from Boston U shows the full committal to the rebuild. Quinn is someone who's coached some great players before. And I think that he has the ability to mentor young players and just really work with them. So I like that acquisition there.
I just want them to trade Lundqvist. Give him to a cup contender or something.
Yeah.
I need that guy to have a cup.
Glenn Saylor's going to go through a lot of scars this year if it's going to be that stressful in New York.
Yeah. I think New York is just not going to be a fun state for hockey this year. Won't be the state of hockey that Minnesota is.
Yeah, but I think that the Rangers are just stagnant this year. They're not gonna be at the bottom of the league, but they're not gonna touch the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Hank ensures that they're not at the bottom of the league.
Yep.
We're going to move right on to the Atlantic unless Marshall has something to
No, I
say.
was going to say, yeah, we're ready to go to the last division and wrap this puppy up.
Okay, let's move on over to the Atlantic Division with the Tampa Bay Lightning. In their ins, Andy Andreov, I messed up that one last time as well. And their outs are Peter Budaj, Andre Schuster, Chris Kunitz, JT Brown, and Matthew Pekka.
They'll be battling with the Leafs all year. I don't see them passing the Leafs, but I can definitely see them. I see them in the playoffs, maybe upsetting Leafs, but I think they'll have a great year. I don't expect anything less than second round.
I think cup contender for sure. They're gonna have to go through the Leafs, or they're gonna have to go through Boston to get into the conference final and then into the Stanley Cup final, which will be hard. But I think they're pretty evenly matched with the Leafs and the Bruins and even Pittsburgh and Washington and Columbus. I have to mention because they're also good. But
I think some of the teams you just mentioned there are not on the same level as.
Pittsburgh and Washington, you don't think they're on the same level as Tampa?
I don't think. No, I don't think Columbus is.
You don't think Columbus? Columbus is.
And I see.
I think.
And I have a hot take coming for the next one, so I'll save it.
I see Washington State taking a step back this year. They've got that cup hangover. You know they partied hard this summer.
Yeah, I know, but Ovi
I think
is-
Ovi's still drunk.
Yeah, but even if
He's
Ovi's
Russian.
super drunk,
He's Russian.
He plays better.
I was
drunk.
gonna say, what's
Like-
the problem there? He'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that as much as they have that cup, they might have a cup hangover. Like we've never seen Washington win a cup.
No.
And
Yeah, very
so-
very true. I'm just not high on Washington this year. I think Tampa will be good. I think definitely a top 5 team in this league, pushing for the Stanley Cup for sure. We're going to move on to Boston and Marshall's hot take. Their ins, Steven Kempfer, Chris Wagner, Joakim Lindstrom, John Moore, and Yaroslav Halak. Their outs, Adam McQuaid, Austin Chisnick, Riley Nash, Anton Habibulin, or Godobin, Tom Schaller, and Nick Holden.
My hot take is Tuukka Rask is going to be awful this year, and they may be ninth or if they may not make it, and if they do, they will lose the first round. I will say right now, they will not be in the second round this year.
Piping hot.
That
That is a hot take.
I'm saying that
for
very.
Sure.
I'm saying that very easily and calmly. They will not be in the second round.
I
That's
can
just
see
simple.
it though, because they're either gonna play, unless they're a wild card team, in which case they'll play Washington,
Or Pitt-
Toronto, Tampa, or Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Where do you see them? Do you see?
I don't see them beating any of them.
They're not going to be in the second round, and I honestly can see. I can see Tampa being Tampa. Toronto. I see Buffalo being huge, and I see Florida coming out and having a good year. I can see Boston missing the playoffs.
I agree.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
I don't think they're gonna miss, but I think that they're not gonna be as good as they were last year.
No.
I wouldn't go as far to say Boston misses the playoffs, but for sure, I think they're worried about Florida catching them from behind, and they finished third. And I think this is the year the Leafs slay their demons.
Yeah, and I mean Chara is how old, and he's still supposed to be there. Like
He's
They're-
39.
I was in his 40s.
No, I think he's 39.
Even still, he is getting slow. He is getting
He's been slow for 3 years. He should have retired
Well,
3 years ago.
yeah.
Listen, Char's a beast.
Yeah, but he's got the long stick for that penalty kill.
Buddy climbs mountains.
You know who would like that long stick for the penalty kill? Mike Babcock. He would definitely be on the ice for our penalty kill.
Before we get it dragged too far off topic, we're going to speak of Florida like we just did. Their ins, Troy Brower and Michael Hutchison, and they didn't let anyone go this summer. So
I'm looking forward to them this year. I think they're gonna have a good, decent year where there will be a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that Barkov and Trocheck are going to be really good for them.
don't forget Huberdeau. I think
Oh,
a healthy Florida will be helpful too.
yeah.
Yes.
As long as and also Lou. Lou's a big factor for this because he's getting old and you never know the year when the goalie's going to start to decline like significantly because he isn't the same as he used to be. He used to be like best in the league and he's not there anymore, but he's still a quality starter.
He's still, I think, a 30-win guy. I think he has 30 wins in him, personally.
I could see it.
Yeah,
100%,
and they have
but you never
James
know.
James alongside him. So James Reimer, that is.
I don't. I come from this as an outsider. I don't see Reimner being that bad. I always liked him, and I think in Florida with him and Lou kind of being a 1A, I could see it being a 1A 1B scenario,
Yeah,
and
completely agree.
they each get around 40.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I just want to correct myself with the Zeno Char thing. He is 41.
Yeah, he's old.
Same age as
Yeah.
Chris Kunitz.
He needs yeah, but Kunitz is what, a foot and a half smaller, so
He takes less food.
multiple feet and a half smaller.
yes.
Okay, let's move on to Detroit right now. We're coming down to the end over here. They have their ins, Jonathan Bonnier and Thomas Vanek. Their outs, Peter Mrazek and Xavier Ouellette. Detroit's a team in a lot of hurt.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be probably bottom of the league this year, but they could just be mediocre. You never know because Detroit, yeah, they lost Zetterberg also, who didn't kind of got forcibly retired because of health issues, but they're not going to be good this year at all.
I think they'll be one ahead of Ottawa in placement.
Yeah, and I
And-
don't think that is a crazy thing.
That's
to
not a
say.
compliment to say either.
Yeah, no, I know. I just feel bad for Dylan Larkin. It's looking like he's gonna waste a career in Detroit.
He's so fast. He still holds the record for the skating competition, even though it's not fair because he got a
Starting
head start for the race, and
Over
McDavid
Brent
didn't.
Gardner.
And McDavid came pretty close.
Well, McDavid was the fastest guy in the league, so I
100%,
think
hands
I
down.
think McDavid and Larkin went head to head doing the same thing.
McDavid's
Yeah,
gonna win 9 out of 10 times.
and then
You can have that one
and then
off.
the 10th time is when McDavid has a sprained ankle.
Yeah, and he still loses by half
yeah,
second.
Not just he has a sprained ankle, he also has to carry Milan Lucic on his shoulders like he has to do on his line. Okay, we're
Speaking of carrying shoulders, this next team.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Montreal Canadiens will have a live or die season on the back of Carey Price here. They had a busy summer, but I just think Bergevin spent more time in the gym than he did crafting these trades. Have you seen his biceps?
My
Bergevin
like
is-
thighs. They're like my thighs. Like what is that guy doing?
Bergevin does
for
curls for every bad trade he sends.
well, then that
One
explains
curl
it.
for every bad trade. He's jacked.
He
Have you
is
seen him?
jacked.
Jesus, this man. Bergevin better not hear us because we're not too far from Montreal. He could come down and punch us in the face, and that
Not
would
scared
hurt.
of Bergevin.
Yeah, I'm not either. No.
Listen, he might not be the best, but he's yoked.
He's so slow.
Okay, other than Bergevin's biceps that were brought in, we're going to talk about Montreal's ends. Max Domi, Steve Mason, Joel Armia, Hunter Shinkaruk, Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, Xavier Ouellette, Matthew Pekka, Thomas Plekanec, and Brett Kulak. They're out Alex Galchenyuk, Simon Bork, Kirby Reichel, Max Pacioretty, and Daniel Carr.
Former Leaf, Thomas Plekanec.
That is the highlight of his career. Former Leaf.
Yeah, they lost some big pieces with Galchenyuk and Pacioretty. Even Bork is pretty good, and Kirby Reichel. But I think their ends don't even match, even close to what they lost, and they are going to be bad.
They don't match, but I mean, they got younger. They got younger. Like Pacioretty, he was. It's like both over and underrated in Montreal. There was too much pressure on him, and what he did good just wasn't appreciated. So I think with someone like Tatar, Domi coming in fresh, I think they'll be fine. Even though we'll see what happens with Domi. Somehow already got suspended.
Yeah, he's a goon.
Yeah, I don't see him. I think he's going to have not a great career if he keeps the way he's going.
But I think bringing in Thomas Tatar was a big one. I'm high on Tatar.
I love him. I think he's great.
So I hope things work out for Tatar, but I don't see Montreal being anything but irrelevant.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like Montreal can suck, but as long as Tatar is good, I'm happy.
Listen, Tatar, and they live or die by Carey Price. I said it right off the top, but
Yeah, that's it. That's
Like-
there's after I think
Carey Price can steal them 3 or 4 spots.
after Edmonton, I don't think there's a team that depends on one player more than Montreal.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, that's fair. Wasn't Carmi David responsible for like 51% of the points?
I think it's something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would seem. Oh, I should also. I saw one stat that's just really stupid about Montreal. Over 20% of their cap is in Shea Weber, Carl Alsner, and Andrew Shaw. Over 20% of their cap is in those 3 players.
That's so funny. And Shea Weber's in the press box right now.
Like seriously, like
Till December, their new captain Shea
Yeah,
Weber,
seriously, also-
who let me remind you, they traded for PK Subban.
how is he their captain when you have Gallagher? Like I don't like Brendan, but he should have been their captain in my opinion.
He's a really good player. I really like him.
Yeah,
He's-
but I
he's a team
disagree.
guy.
I just this wasn't a captaincy that was picked by the players. It was forced upon them.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's going to be more pain for Montreal this year
And
than anything else.
There's also a new captain in the next team.
Yeah, the Buffalo Sabres, their ins. Connor Sheary, Matt Hunwick, Tage Thompson, Patrick Berglund, Vladimir Sobotka, Jeff Skinner, who they absolutely stole, Scott Wedgwood, and Carter Hutton. They're outs. Ryan O'Reilly, Cliff Pugh, Robin Leonard, and Chad Johnson.
Sleepers.
I have them being ahead of Boston. That's who I have them getting ahead of because they have Jeff Skinner, who I think will be over 40 goals if he plays with Jack Eichel.
Like they
On power play?
stole Jeff Skinner
That's
too.
Yeah.
yeah. It
I
was
think-
bad.
I think that Jack Eichel's going to have a career year, and I think that they might do something. The only problem, like, I have with them always is their goaltending.
That's fair. They're
And they have Hutton, who's really good. He was really good last year with the Blues. He had some crazy save percentage. He's like one of the high save percentages over the last 3 seasons with like over 20 games a season played or something. And I think he could make a difference there, but it's as much as it's dependent on how well the players play, it's mostly about how their goalie's going to play. But I see Buffalo doing something this year.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, Carter Hutton was crazy last year. In 27 games, he was a 9.31.
So I mean, he can drop 10 points off that, and they'll still be fine. In my opinion.
100%. Yeah.
So if he's above 920,
if you're above 9-10 as a goalie, that's good.
Yeah, and with Skinner and Eichel in front of you,
You'll be fine.
Now, were you guys high on Dolan? Because I've seen a lot of reporting, and he didn't have a great preseason, that he's going to struggle this year.
I don't look at preseason like it's me. I think he'll be fine. I think you need to just just keep him on the second line, maybe the third line. Just let him play into it. Don't put him into everything right away.
Don't give him that pressure.
No.
I think that's a lot what happened to Eichel. He got put a lot of pressure on him immediately, and now that it's kind of alleviating with all the pressure not just on him, he has some pieces around him that are also good. He's going to pick up his game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to another team. And Marshall, your team, the Ottawa Senators. The ins are Michael Bodker, Julius Bergman, Chris Tierney, Dylan DeMello, Josh Norris, and Rudolph Balser. Their outs: Mike Hoffman, Francis Perron, Frederick Cleason, and Eric Carlson. Now we gave our takes on the Carlson trade last week and last podcast.
I'm a Sens fan that has had a Carlson jersey. I have a rookie Carlson jersey. I was high on him since the World Juniors. Oof. I thought he was going to be franchise player, everything. I was, however, prepared for him to be traded. I did not want them to get rid of Bobby Ryan with them because I wanted the package to come back from Carlson to be good. The package they got back for Carlson, they might as well have had Bobby Ryan in there because what they got back for Carlson was a joke. It was I was ready for him to be traded. Honestly I was looking forward to it so that it would just happen. He was going to be gone anyway, come free agency. So at least we would have got something for him. But I'll be honest, I had not heard of a single player that they got in exchange for him. And this is a generational talent that they lost.
Yeah, I think Rudolph Balser was the top scorer on the Barracudas, but that doesn't even come close to touching.
And
Eric
honestly,
Carlson.
I'm almost past Carlson now. I'm at the Zach Smith issue. You put a guy on waivers, and then a week later you name him assistant captain. Like, what kind of franchise does that ballsy move?
Well, I just want to read you Duchesne's quote in regard to Zach Smith. And it has something to do with balls. I'll be honest. It was a kick in the balls for us. That's how it feels.
The Ottawa Senators organization is proving again how terrible the management is.
The only people I feel bad for on that team are Boucher, Chris Kelly, and the social media guy.
You mean the social media guy who also does the Zamboni and sells 50-50 tickets?
Well, it's a robust organization. You got to be able to do more than one thing there. Why do you think Melnick is...
He's also the mascot.
Yeah. Who do you think Spartacat... who do you think Spartacat really is?
Is he all the prime ministers as well during the prime minister race?
No, that he has Dorian do that with his stooges, with all three scouts. My expectations for Ottawa is that they do well enough so that Colorado doesn't get a good pick. In reality, I can see it going one of two ways. I can see them finishing last and then giving up the first overall pick, or I can see them finishing 10th and then giving up the first overall pick.
They are going to win the first overall pick.
Either way, it's going to be a hard, I could say, more than 2 years to be an Ottawa fan. And
just 2 years?
If you feel
at
bad,
least.
I have a saying that makes it all feel better. It's always darkest just before the light.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think Ottawa has become a black hole, and
there's no light to return.
Yeah, there's no light. Move the franchise.
Spaghettification of the Ottawa Senators.
Move the franchise.
You know what? I'm just prepared to move on to hear about Toronto because I think you guys are kind of excited about. I don't know. I have a feeling you guys are excited.
Yeah, we are just kind of a little
be.
bit. But before we move on Toronto, I just want to get your thoughts on Brady Tkachuk making the lineup.
Well, he's in the lineup, but he's out for tomorrow with an injury already. So that I think is Ottawa in a nutshell, where they have their best player. He's willing to leave college to come for this awful, awful team, and then he gets hurt. So I think he'll be good. I think he'll be gone in 3 years, but I think he'll be good because that's just he'll be leaving on free. He won't be re-signing with Ottawa.
It'll be an RA.
No, but like he'll
restricted free agent.
He'll sign a 1 year. He won't sign anything more than 1 year. I honestly think that because he's going to just. I think he's a good player. I don't see him being in Ottawa long.
Okay.
That's fair.
we'll get
no
th-
rebuild around him.
Rebuild. If they want to try to rebuild around him, they can try. But I don't know a single player that wants to go to Ottawa and say, "I will be the centerpiece of this," as long as Melnick's there,
Yeah.
or Dorian for that matter.
It's very fair.
So let's move on to a much happier place in the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Although it can add stressful place, but happy.
Yeah. A lot of screaming has been going on. The ends, I mean, Eamon McAdams, who we got for Matt Martin, Tyler Ennis, and just this random guy, John Tavares. The outs, Matt Martin, C's, Roman Polak, Leo Komarov, James Van Riemsdyk, Tyler Bozak, Calvin Pickard, and Curtis McElhaney.
It looks like we lost a lot because we did lose JVR, Bozak, Picard, McElhaney, Connor Carrick. I don't care about Komarov, Polak, or Martin. But it doesn't matter. We're so good.
You say that with so much pride and so much happiness. We're just good.
Do you know how horrible it's been to be a Leafs fan?
For so long.
Everybody shit on us, and we deserved it. There was nothing we could say. We just have to kind of accept it. But now we can go, no, John Tavares. No, Austin Matthews. No, Nazem Kadri.
No. William Nylander, question mark?
All I'm gonna say is, I hope you guys win some cups because in 5 years you're gonna be like Chicago. Not in 5 years.
Really?
No.
In
That's
eight.
way more years than that.
In
We
sorry,
have so many
I
more
meant-
pieces than
I-
Chicago had.
I meant 8. You have signed right now for next year.
Okay, sorry. We haven't signed them yet, but we have
Oh, okay, so there it is.
two of them are going to sign. As if we can figure out the cap for next year to sign Matthews and Marner, it's a dynasty team.
Listen, the Willie contract is the crucial one. It's the one that sets the tone.
Yeah.
You get Willie to accept
6.5?
6.5, which I think is what he deserves. Prorate it, maybe 7. You can get those guys down. I think Marner comes in at like 7.5, maybe 8.
I think Marner's going to make 8.
In the same ballpark, and you give Matthews
11.
11. You give him the John Tavares. You prorate the John Tavares contract.
But John Tavares has a hometown discount. That's what he called it. Now, Matthews, this is not his hometown. And I don't know if he might take a discount because he wants to win a cup, and we need to do that. But I'm saying Austin Matthews, as much as he's a great guy and he wants to play for Toronto, I don't think he's going to do that hometown discount that John Tavares is. And I think he's a better player, so he might deserve more regardless.
No, yeah, I agree. But what do you see it coming to? You talking?
I hope he takes hometown discount and goes 11, and I don't think he's gonna go to Connor McDavid level, but like 11.5, 11.75 maybe.
Can you think you can afford to have that? Like,
Yeah, the people who tell you that you can't are wrong.
I was gonna say though, but where do you get a quality goaltender when you have?
You have Frederick
we have
Anderson.
Freddie already. He's already signed.
So you have faith in Freddie Anderson to go all the way.
I do.
Okay,
I have
so
a lot of faith in
I
that
want to
man.
say you're the first Leaf fan I've ever talked to that has said that without hesitation.
Then they're wrong. I think Freddie is phenomenal. Like he outperforms all of his all of his advanced metrics, and Freddie is great.
He is the calmest goalie I've ever seen in an NHL net. If you look at his facial expression at any point, he is always no emotion.
Okay. I think Toronto will be great. I just want to say this: the last team to outperform their advanced statistics was Ottawa 2 years ago.
Shh. No.
So, I'll just say that now, and we can maybe talk about the projections. I kind of want to end it on there because Toronto's going to have a really good year. They are.
Yeah, I just
Not years.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that. So we will get to those predictions, and this is how we're going to round it off. We're going to go around the table. We're going to write them down, and we're going to keep track of them to see who's right. We'll do a new one every single month. I kind of like that idea, just to keep updating them. And then we'll see at the end of the year who's right. And what are we putting on this? A pitcher of beer?
Let's go for, yeah, I'm down. I don't want to spend much more money. I'm broke.
Okay. So the winner gets a pitcher. Okay. So we're going to start with you, Ian. Who are your cup champions?
My cup champions. I don't want to say it, but I kind of have to. I'm actually not going to go with the Leafs this year. I can't pick the Leafs because as much as I think they could do it, I'm gonna say a Western Conference team is gonna win. I think that the Sharks are gonna win the cup.
And who do you think they're gonna lose? Who do you think they're gonna beat?
Ooh, that's hard. I think it's Tampa.
Fair enough. Declan, who do you have in the Stanley Cup Finals?
My Stanley Cup Finals is the Jets versus the Leafs. And Canada doesn't exist after this because the Toronto Maple Leafs are Stanley Cup champions.
You're gonna say that year one and you're gonna say they're gonna win this year.
Yeah, I have
All
full
right.
faith.
I will happily buy you a pitcher of beer.
I think
I will
think
have
it'll
no
be multiple
hesitation.
pitchers of beer if the Leafs win. I think we
I
saw.
think
I
I would-
saw how Ovi celebrated it, and then just turn that to 10.
I think I would buy one and then leave quickly.
Be like, I need to get out of here.
I don't
now.
think I would remember you being
I think that's fair.
there.
I
Marshall,
have
yours?
the Jets and the Pens
Okay.
Okay,
with the Jets winning.
that's
I
bringing
think
the cup north.
I see them getting over the hump against Nashville. I see Vegas being not the juggernaut they are, and I just think they can do it this year as long as Hellebuck does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's their crutch, but I think they can do that.
If Hellbuck plays like he played last year, they can easily win the cup.
Yeah.
Not easily, but like they can win the
They
cup.
should.
They should.
If he plays like they should. If he plays like he should, then they should.
Okay.
I agree.
We're gonna move on to some of these trophies. Who wins the Art Ross, Ian?
Art Ross, Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
Marshall?
that's I have McDavid as
C-Mac?
Okay.
I have C-Mac winning as well.
Actually, I'm gonna wild card it. No, I'm not. It's definitely Connor McDavid.
The Heart?
That's a more difficult one. I want to say that it would be McDavid, but showing what happened, and he didn't even come close to winning the Hart, I'm going to have to say it's going to be maybe, oh my God, this is so hard. It's got to be maybe Taylor Hall.
You're going Taylor Hall.
He's so good.
Ooh.
And I have faith in him on the Devils this year.
I have Austin Matthews.
That's
I agree.
I think this year he comes out of his shell and he leads Toronto to the promised land.
I think
to the promised land of Yonge Street.
I'm not going to go that far, but I think he's going to have his. He'll if he could reach 50 goals. I think he could reach 50 goals.
If he reaches 50 goals, I support it. And also, just side note, Austin Matthews already has one regular season goal. He scored on Montreal already, snipped it, so that's cool.
Who do you have winning the Rocket?
Patrick Laine.
Not a bold prediction.
It's not a bold prediction. I think he has it.
All right.
Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews gets 55 goals this year and wins the Rocket Richard.
Hot takes with Declan.
I once again agree with one of you, but this time it's Ian. I think Lane will just crush it. I think easily. So that's all I gotta say about that. But I'm very hung up about Norris.
So we're gonna go Norris next. We'll start with Ian once again, just to stick with some continuity here.
Victor Hedman. It's going to pain you to say it.
I think it's going to come from the Sharks. I'm going to say Carlson, but if it's Burns, I'm not. I see either because voting is fickle with the NHL. They're going to prop each other up, but they could also split the vote from each other. But I won't be surprised if it's Carlson.
I think it'll be Roman Josi.
Ooh, okay. That's not. None of these are bold predictions, but
I think Roman Polak.
I think Connor Carrick.
We'll go Vesna, and then we'll finish with the Calder. Marshall, Vesna.
Vezina, I'm going to go with the team that have picking the cup, Hellebuck, because if for my cup prediction to go right, it has to be him winning the Vezina.
I think Freddie Anderson.
Ooh, so we're all going with different people. I have Peke Rene.
That's a reasonable pick. I'm
That's
not
a good
gonna
pick.
I'm not
I
gonna
can't
argue
with that
pick.
at all.
That seems very fair to me.
So you have Freddie winning the Vezina, but the Leafs not winning the cup.
Yeah, because Vezina is regular season.
And I mean, like I said, I think playoffs is where Freddie has to have.
And I
how
am
many
hoping he does.
I
I'm
think,
hoping he does, but I'm just saying I don't know if the Leafs have the playoff experience to make it and win the cup.
I don't think it's playoff experience. I think Babs just needs to use Sparks this year.
Yeah, if he can rest Freddie a little bit and not make him face the most shots of any goalie in the league by, I think it was over 200 shot difference or something. That would be very helpful for him, and I think it would improve his stats and advanced analytics.
Fair enough.
And we'll finish with the Calder. Who wins the Calder?
I think there's a reason why it was called the race for Rasmus. Rasmus Dahlin. I think preseason will show that doesn't really matter, and he's going to break out of his shell.
I think it's going to be Elias Pettersson.
I have to agree with Ian. I think it will be Elias Pettersson.
It's harder to win it as a D-man, especially when he's playing on a team that if he does make a difference for the team, you could say that also for Buffalo, but for Vancouver, if you're a bad team, but he plays really well, and it shows on the standings a little bit, I think that's a bigger effect. He doesn't have anyone around him as much as Dahlin does. Dahlin has a bunch of great players around him to kind of overshadow him.
Yeah, I mean for a Calder, it's a lot of the winners, especially the Hart. You got to be on a team that is in the playoffs. Calder, doesn't matter what your team is as long as you're good.
Yeah, I think Elias Pettersson comes through and gets the full Brock Besser treatment. The one is Brock Besser that we saw at the beginning of the year. I think those two are going to tear it up this year.
I'm excited for that, honestly.
So I think that's all we have to do tonight. We're going to run downstairs and turn on that Leafs game. I know I'm excited.
You guys are more excited for the Leafs game than I am for the Sens game tomorrow. I can definitely say that.
We're going to finish this off with a round of hot takes. Marshall, hot take.
Can I repeat what I said already?
You
Because
can.
I honestly think Boston will not make the playoffs.
Well, I already made a huge hot take with Freddie winning Vezina, so.
The Frezina?
Fred.
Does he get the Frezina? Do they rename the title? The
They
Frezina.
will. If he wins, they're going to rename it completely.
Austin Matthews gets 55 goals this year.
That's a very hot take.
I had 50, and I was very wary about that. You have 55 easily.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Alex Ovechkin doesn't hit that, and he has a better shot than Matthews.
Yeah, but think about who
Yeah, but-
Matthews is playing. Ottawa, Montreal. If Carey Price
Okay,
isn't
yeah,
what he's
fair.
supposed to be,
And
that's
also
easy
the
goals.
matchup game. Austin Matthews is going to get some easier competition.
Yeah. That's
And
agree.
I'm
except his man. As much as I want to say him on the power play, now he's on the first power play unit, and it's the craziest power play unit I've ever seen with names.
Yes.
Other than Tampa's last year. Tampa's last year was nuts.
It is. I'm just gonna end it right here. Is Toronto's 1-2 better than Pittsburgh's 1-2?
Yes.
Okay.
Not yet.
So you think it's better than Crosby Malkin?
Yes.
Okay.
Cut it.
Follow your hosts on Twitter at DeBart14, at Ian_Blumenthal, and at Marshall Healy. Don't forget to follow the podcast at Real Good Procast.